Hello, hello. All right, today's script is an Arabic word called ma'dan, and it's a word we use for, I want to say steel. Uh, every sword has a core, right? Which is stronger or more formed or less basically manipulated. Uh, it practically translates to essence. So the script today is essence is not subject to change. And here's the word ma'dan in Arabic. Right? Essence is not subject to change. And the idea came from a conversation with a friend of mine who is found lost. I wanted to say lost but not found, but found lost. And I'm reflecting on himself because for the longest time he just dove deep into different philosophies of the world and started choosing the ones that best suit his situation. I think we all do that. But normally, what we do is we kind of like use those in order to support whatever we want or whatever we want out of this world. What happened though with him is he started using them to support his situation, right? It's like the best way of giving up is basically just collecting all forms of excuses or reasons why things don't really work out. But he looked at me and he said something. He's like, after 20 years, you will always be Tariq. And I was very much kind of like flabbergasted because at that time I remember like I was looking at him. If I'm not mistaken, it was my brother's engagement party. Oh, they ended up breaking up, by the way. I'm so happy for him. Not because she's a bad woman or something, just because these things, when they happen sooner, they're always better for the best. And so effectively, what happens is he was looking at me and he was trying to have a conversation. And it's basic stuff, philosophies, what to do about life, and how people are, and how he doesn't like the new generation. We tend to project a lot when we're not in a good place, and we tend to project a lot when we are in a good place. I think projection is us misunderstanding expression, or I think projection is what happens when we don't truly have anything to express. So we end up pointing our misery or our view of the world and seeing it in others, basically, and others' expression. So when we lack our expression, we start seeing it in others, which basically results in projection. And he was looking at me and I'm like, but I am completely different than I was before. He was like, yes, but Madan, but the essence is still there. It wouldn't change. And it got me thinking to what is this essence that he's talking about? Or what is it that he sees? And it's not that I trust him. Again, he's seeking, from my perspective, he's seeking solitude or just solace from childhood, from his childhood, because he's not liking his adulthood. As children, we used to play and run and do all kinds of stuff up to like the age of 20, 21. But so that specifically, from my perspective, is a bit more of an intentional fallout with your current self. Yet he pointed at something. And since he could only see the childhood, I think he could only see the spirit of how we were. Unhinged, right? Nothing standing in our way. Or at the very least, not a care in the world. Effectively, when we're too relaxed, too comfortable, the only expression that comes out of us is the truest form of our expression. And the truest form of our expression is always there. It's always going to be there. And it's going to shape everything you do unless you basically stand in its way. And that's something that basically society kind of like, when society, not, I don't want, I'm not labeling society in a certain kind of way. I'm just saying there's conditioning in everything that we do. And effectively, that's how our essence kind of like gets twisted and turned and like kind of fucked with. So what happens is basically like the idea is like essence is not subject to change. And maybe that's the truth that we're always kind of like trying to go back to. Or those are the times where we're uninhibited because that's our expression is in its truest form. And from my again, like I'm just thinking about essence right now, right? Like I'm discussing it out loud. Our values based on our essence, correct, not the other way around. Because the way I see it is we are layered beings. We're not one being. We're layered beings. We're layered on top of like whatever spark of life. Just like the tree is basically different stages of a seed. Can't be helped. It has to start with a seed. It's not like a tree started growing on its own. There was something that sparked life. For us, it's the same. Let's call it a soul. No, I don't think it's a soul as well. But I think the soul's combination with this physical body is what sparks life. So it's basically the combination of a soul and a body and the nature of the cosmos, the cosmic energy that just flows through us. The one that allows us to kind of like, the one that feeds our reality, that kind of like establishes our intention. So if essence is not subject to change, do we all have the same essence? Or does it vary? How does, again, if you're building layers on top of layers of yourself in order for you to kind of like survive in this world, then to reach that essence, you kind of like, does the layer protect the essence? Yes. If you think about it this way, back to the example that I said, because when you're uninhibited, that means there's nothing basically like within your realm that's stopping your expression. You're expressing yourself fully, which is your true essence, kind of like revealing itself to the world. But when somebody comes up, for example, my memory is like my mom telling me not to run so fast. Like we tone down that expression, but we can't do that. We can't really tone down our expression. The best we can do is filter it. And that's the thing. And then more things happen as you basically meet more people. And then more things happen as you kind of like expand into like between from your house to the village, from the village to the community, from the community to society, from society to the like, world. You're adding these layers on top of yourself. Bit by bit, what you're effectively doing is you're kind of like creating these filters. And to get to understand yourself slash your essence, the true self, right? The higher self. Just the reason why you chose to kind of like exist. You have to pass through these filters and understand why they were placed there to begin with. And from that perspective, you're gonna come back to the thing that never changed, because like the only thing that has changed is the filtering system or the filters being added, or the way you filter even, right? Like the smarter you get, the smarter you start, the smarter you become around different situations, which means every situation has its own filter. But for a lot of us, we kind of like add enough filters to kind of like just become neutral in every situation, which kind of like takes us away from ourselves, because it's not a dynamic filtering system; it's a static one. I like how I'm explaining it with the filtering system. It's going to be a lot to think about after today. All right. Remember, essence is not subject to change. I truly see it, by the way. When he said it, I was like, huh, I should write this down. And if anything, man, at the core, life's purpose is to express yourself, which means our purpose in life is to basically go back to that essence and basically understand the filtering system that we have in place. All right, guys, it's a video. I love you.